أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So we stopped previously at the children of Israel discarding the covenant of Allah and their turning away from His Prophet and their choice to follow the teachings of the tampered scriptures. And we also spoke about the abrogating and forgetting of some verses and the introduction of the word aslam, submission, to this surah. وقالت اليهود ليست النصارى على شيء وقالت النصارى ليست اليهود على شيء. And the Jewish people said the Christians are not on a thing, and the Christian people said the Jewish people are not on a thing. So when we say not on a thing, على شيء, it means they have nothing to stand on. وهم يتلون الكتاب, whilst they recite the book. So both of these parties recite the book. كذلك قال الذين لا يعلمون مثل قولهم. In this way said those who do not know, similar to what these people said. So those who do not know are those who have not been taught the scripture, who don't have a particular scripture that they stick to. And in this context, I'd say they are the people of Arabia at the time, who were not Jewish and Christian. Wallahu a'lam. فالله يحكم بينهم يوم القيامة فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. So Allah will judge between them on the day of judgment regarding what they used to differ in. So the Jewish people have said the Christian people have nothing to stand on, and the Christian people have said the Jewish people have nothing to stand on. And then it is detailed وهم يتلون الكتاب, and both of these parties recite the scripture. So they have both been taught of the scriptures of Allah. They both have a version of these scriptures. However, they cannot find common ground, and it has gotten to the point where they say you have nothing to stand on. So it is not we are in a similar place, however there are slight differences. Both are completely discrediting one another. And if these scriptures that they were reciting were untampered and genuinely the truth, then they would have found common ground between them. كذلك قال الذين لا يعلمون مثل قولهم. In this way said those who do not know, similar to what they said. So the people who do not even have a scripture are saying similar things. They are saying people do not have anything to stand on. So those who are reciting the scripture are being likened to those who have no scripture whatsoever, thus showing how the tampered scriptures are not benefiting the majority of the people at the time. Wallahu a'lam. However, we will get into an ayah which does clear a little bit of this up. فالله يحكم بينهم يوم القيامة فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. So Allah will judge between them on the day of judgment regarding what they used to differ in. So there may have been some righteousness, there may have been some haqq. However, this will be judged by Allah on the day of judgment. So if there is difference and people are not finding common ground, it is not for the people to judge, it's for Allah. فالله يحكم بينهم. ومن أظلم ممن منع مساجد الله أن يذكر فيها اسمه وسعى في خرابها. And who is more wrong than the one that prevented the places of worship of Allah that His name be mentioned within them, and they strived or made effort in their destruction. أولئك ما كان لهم أن يدخلوها إلا خائفين لهم في الدنيا خزي ولهم في الآخرة عذاب عظيم. So Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was occupied by many empires throughout the years, the Byzantine Empire, the Persian Empire, and the places there may not have been protected or preserved at the times as they should have been. And then here there is a description, من أظلم ممن منع. Who is more wrong than, or who is worse than the person that prevented. And then we see أولئك ما كان لهم أن يدخلوها إلا خائفين. These people, it was not for them to enter it except for with fear or in fear. لهم في الدنيا خزي ولهم في الآخرة عذاب عظيم. For them in this life there is disgrace, and in the hereafter there is a great punishment. So now we see it detailed, it was not for them to enter it except for with fear or in fear. Meaning that the people who had the responsibility to protect these places did not protect them as they should have, and did not represent their faith in the way that they should have represented it. Wallahu a'lam. And this ayah also comes directly after وقالت اليهود ليست النصارى على شيء, that the Jewish people are saying the Christians have nothing to stand on, and the Christian people are saying the Jewish people have nothing to stand on. So we see this may be in reference to the way they upheld their faith whilst they were the authority within the deen. Or another way you could put it is whilst they were the current nation. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. فَأَيْنَمَا تَوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. And for Allah is the east and the west. So wherever you turn, then the entirety of Allah is there. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Indeed, Allah is all-encompassing, all-knowing. So the places of worship of Allah are meant to be protected. They are meant to be respected, they are meant to be revered. However, they are not a condition upon us to have a connection with Allah. A person may turn to the east and may turn to the west, and Allah is still all-hearing, and Allah is still all-knowing, and Allah's mercy, knowledge, forgiveness and guidance encompasses everything. وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا سُبْحَانَهُ بَلْ لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كُلٌّ لَهُ قَانِتُونَ. And they said, Allah has taken a son, exalted is he. Rather for him is what is in the heavens and the earth. All to him are devoutly obedient. It's detailed later on in the Quran that the Christians have said that Jesus is the son of Allah, and the Jewish people have said Uzair is the son of Allah. Here we see it addressed, Subhana, exalted is he. Everything in the heavens and the earth are devoutly obedient to Allah. The angels, people, mankind, the jinn, animals, nature, and they are obedient in ways that we do not understand and ways that we cannot comprehend. Just a small example could be that a person may not believe in Allah, and they may walk down the street on their way to work and drop a £20 note, for example, and this £20 note may fall into the hands of a person, and this person was in need of money, wallahu alam. So then this person gave this other person £20 notes. However, it was not by his own will, it was by the will of Allah. Even if we are unaware, we obey Allah. بديع السماوات والأرض وإذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. The originator of the heavens and the earth, and if he decreed a command, then he says to it be, and it is. All that are contained within the heavens and the earth, all of creation, are devoutly obedient to Allah, and he is the originator of the heavens and the earth, all of creation. And if he decrees a matter, then he says be, and it is. And this was the birth of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus. Allah said kun, and he was. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ لَوْلَا يُكَلِّمُنَ اللَّهُ أَوْ تَأْتِينَا آيَةٌ. And those who do not know said, why does Allah not speak to us, or a sign come to us? كَذَلِكَ قَالَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ مِثْلَ قَوْلِهِمْ تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. In this way said those who were from before them, similar to what they say, their hearts have become similar. So these people who do not know, i.e. the ones who are being introduced to the scripture through Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and do not have a previous scripture that they have knowledge of, they ask these questions, why does Allah not speak to us, or a sign not come to us? And we've seen these questions asked before by the people that have come before them, and we've seen how that has gone, and we've seen how the repeated transgression and unreceptiveness to the signs and the commands of Allah cause a person's heart to become hard and numb. مثل قولهم تشابهت قلوبهم. Similar to their words, their hearts have become similar. So first they say the same things, then they believe the same things, and these have an impact on their faith. قد بينا الآيات لقوم يوقنون. Indeed, we have made the signs clear to a people who firmly believe. So reading through the Quran so far, we have seen that these signs are evident. And a lot of these people experienced different versions of signs firsthand. So some of these people experienced miracles. However, it is evidence they have been made clear for a people who firmly believe. So for these signs to be observed and received in a way, a person has to have faith. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا. Here the Prophet ﷺ is addressed. Indeed, we have sent you with the truth as a bringer of glad tidings and a warner. وَلَا تُسْأَلُ عَنْ أَصْحَابِ الجَّحِيمِ. And you will not be asked about the companions of the fire. So the Prophet ﷺ, his role is detailed here, and we see Bashiran and Nadira, a bringer of glad tidings and a warner. And for him to be told he will not be asked about the companions of the fire means he has no responsibility over them. He has no responsibility over the transgression of people. He has no responsibility over people's free will. He can speak and remind, however he cannot control. وَلَن تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ قُلْ إِنَّ هُدَى اللَّهِ هُوَ الْهُدَى. And the Jewish people and Christian people will not be pleased with you until you follow their way of life or their religion. قُلْ إِنَّ هُدَى اللَّهِ هُوَ الْهُدَى. Say, indeed the guidance of Allah is the guidance. وَلَئِنِ اتَّبَعْتَ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ بَعْدَ الَّذِي جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ مَا لَكَ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ وَلِيٍّ وَلَا نَصِيرٍ. And if you then followed their desires after what came to you of the knowledge, there is not for you from Allah a guardian or a helper. The Prophet ﷺ is given some advice by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's also some insight that the Jewish people and the Christian people will not be pleased with him until he follows their religion. So they believe they are firmly correct, and they have no faith in the revelations being shared with the Prophet ﷺ. And this is not, of course, all Jewish people or all Christian people. However, the majority in this context. And the Prophet ﷺ is told to say, indeed the guidance of Allah is the guidance. And this is a statement that is true for all parties concerned, all sects, regardless of what they call themselves. Yahud, the Jewish people, Nasara, Christian people, all of which should believe that the guidance of Allah is the guidance. And if they have faith and have belief, then they will see the signs of Allah and then follow the way that has been made available. And then the Prophet ﷺ is given guidance after this insight or advice. And indeed, if you then follow their desires after what has come to you of the knowledge, مَا لَكَ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ وَلِيٍّ وَلَا نَصِيرٍ, there is not for you from Allah a guardian or a helper. What he is being given by Allah is direct, and Allah will hold him accountable. However, what these people have is tampered, they are clinging to it. Therefore, it's not direct from Allah. And if any man were to go with the desires of people rather than the direct guidance of Allah, then there is no one who would be a guardian for them, and there is no one who would help them. Wallahu a'lam. I want everyone to actually try to put themselves in the shoes of the Prophet ﷺ for a minute and consider that having a direct relationship with Allah and being the first person to receive these revelations comes with a massive responsibility. To be the one person receiving these revelations and receiving this guidance first, and there are multitudes of people trying to take him away from this and bring him towards something which is not the truth, may be very difficult. الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يتلونه حق تلاوته أولئك يؤمنون به. So we spoke about the Jewish people and the Christian people saying they both have nothing to stand on, and we spoke about the people who do not know also saying something similar. And it is mentioned وَهُمْ يُتْلَوْنَ الْكِتَابِ, whilst they recite the book, whilst they live by the book. And then we see in this ayah, those who we have given to them the book and they recite it, the rights of its recitation, it is they who believe in it. And when we hear recite it, it doesn't necessarily just mean to read or recite the scripture, it also means to live by it. So these people are living by the scripture that they have, giving it the rights that it is meant to have in terms of how it is meant to be lived by. So they are adhering to it. أُولَئِكَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ, it is them that believe in it. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِهِ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, and the ones that disbelieve in it, it is them who are the losers. So not all of the people of the book really followed the scriptures that they had. The ones that have turned away from the guidance that they did have, from the scriptures that they did have, it is them who are the losers. يَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلُ اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَتِي الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَأَنِّي فَضَّلْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. O children of Israel, mention the blessing I have blessed upon you, and that I have favoured you above all people. And we've seen this ayah used before twice. This is the third mention of this ayah. And we've seen that the verse that follows this verse slightly changes as time goes on, as the signs are revealed, and as we are shown more of the trials and transgressions of the children of Israel. And it is still a reminder to the children of Israel, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِيَ نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ وَلَا تَنْفَعُهَا شَفَاعَةٌ وَلَا هُمْ يُنْصَرُونَ. And be mindful of a day, no soul will be of benefit to another soul, and bargaining will not be accepted from it, and intercession will be of no use to it, and they will not be helped. So we've seen a fairly similar ayah to this. The ayah that we've seen is mentioned before the trials and transgressions of the children of Israel are outlined. So it's fairly early on in the surah. And we see وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِيَ نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا, and be mindful of a day no soul will be of benefit to another soul. وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ, and intercession will not be accepted from it. وَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ, and bargaining will not be taken from it. وَلَا هُمْ يُنْصَرُونَ, and they will not be helped. Before the trials and transgressions of the children of Israel are outlined, before we have been made aware of them, their standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was that intercession would not be accepted. So the word used regarding intercession here is accepted. And intercession is for a person to stand in front of Allah and say, I speak for these people. وَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ, and bargaining will not be taken from it. So what could be inferred from this is bargaining is a tool that is not sufficient. وَلَا هُمْ يُنْصَرُونَ, and they will not be helped. So we see shafa'atun mentioned first, intercession mentioned first, a person speaking for other people mentioned first, then bargaining mentioned after, then it is detailed they will not be helped. However, in the most recent ayah we see وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِيَ نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا, and be mindful of a day no soul will be of benefit to another soul. وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ, so now we see that it is bargaining that is mentioned first, and it will not be accepted. وَلَا تَنْفَعُهَا شَفَاعَةٌ, and intercession, speaking for someone else, will not be of use. وَلَا هُمْ يُنْصَرُونَ, and they will not be helped. In Islam, we believe the Prophet ﷺ will stand and intercede for the Muslim people, and this will be permitted by Allah. However, it takes an honourable standing and some sort of respect having been had in the dealings of the people with Allah, their ways of dealing with Allah and each other, for this to become the case. And this is the stance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taken with the children of Israel, made apparent through the previous verse, that shafa'ah, intercession, was the first thing that was mentioned, and it was detailed it would not be accepted. This may have been open to change had the trials and transgressions not been trials and transgressions, rather trials and growth. Wallahu alam. However, bargaining is what is detailed as first, and it is said it will not be accepted. So through their trials and transgression, they have lost good standing with Allah, and it has been made apparent that their primary way of dealing on the Day of Judgment will be bargaining, and that this will not be accepted by Allah. And that intercession for someone to speak for someone else in front of Allah would not be of use whatsoever. Wallahu alam. Wa lahum yunsarun.